Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Skills and Abilities. We're on a Necromancer, so we might as well do a Necromancer ability. I just finished Teleport, and I was thinking to myself, you know what? We're on a Necromancer now, so let's do Necromancer abilities. And you know what? We're going to start out with a really nice one, which is Corpse Explosion. Corpse Explosion is an amazing ability. It is hard to undersell Corpse Explosion. Just simply because Corpse Explosion is so ridiculously powerful. And it's hard even to explain Corpse Explosion to anyone who is not aware of how powerful it is. Because it doesn't really have numbers on it. You know, it doesn't say, oh, this ability does 500 to 1,000 damage. It doesn't say this ability does 10,000 to 50,000 damage. It doesn't say this ability does, 600 million to 700 million damage. And believe it or not, it can do all those numbers and more. And the reason is because Corpse Explosion is a percentage-based damage, which means that it goes off of the percentage of the monster's HP of the corpse that's being exploded. Now, unfortunately, because Corpse Explosion is a ability that is only capable of being used when something dies, it tends to be really slow in certain situations. So you have to work on a reliable method to take out those targets. In other words, if you can't reliably kill them, well then who is going to reliably kill them? Because, Corpse Explosion isn't going to do that for you. Corpse Explosion is going to accelerate the rate at which things die. So as things begin to die, Corpse Explosion will accelerate that exponentially. However, you have to obtain the first couple kills to start the chain of events. So what does Corpse Explosion do exactly? All right, so let's read off the ability first and then we'll talk about it. So casts on a corpse of a slain monster, it explodes, damaging nearby enemies, and it does 70 to 120% of the corpse's life. I currently have it at level 27, and it has a radius of 11.3 yards at level 27. Now, the radius of Corpse Explosion does go up as you increase the level, but the damage does not, okay? So the ability is always going to do 70 to 120% of the monster's HP, but the radius increases as you increase the skill level. At level 1, it's only a radius of 2.6 yards, and for the most part, it's not going to hit anything. It's only going to hit the monster at directly beneath the explosion. And maybe the monsters that are like standing over the corpse looking at it. As you level it up to level 2, it goes to 3 yards. At level 6, it's 4.3 yards. At level 10, it's 5.6 yards. At level 20, it's 9 yards, and so forth and so on until you get to where I'm at right now, which is level 27 at 11.3 yards. And if I swap to my actual real equipment, which has lots and lots of plus to skills, I go even higher and can get that radius up even more. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, why would you want to increase the radius? Well, because it does a massive amount of damage. I want you to think about it like this. Let's say you have 20 cows, all right? All 20 cows have 10,000 HP. And one of those cows dies, and you explode that cow's corpse. That corpse will deal 70 to 120% of that corpse's life, okay? So if you have a 10,000 HP cow, 70% of 10,000 is 7,000 damage. There are 20 cows nearby. One of them died to give you a corpse, and you can dish out 7,000 damage to 19 cows, which is a lot of frickin' damage. The larger the radius is, the more the explosion will be useful, and the more the explosion is useful, the more things die, and the more things die, the more corpses you have, and the more corpses you have, the faster things die. And that is really all I can say about Corpse Explosion, is that it literally is an exponential death rate depending on how many corpses you have within range. Take, for instance, Pindleskin up here. I'm going to curse him, and I can't use Corpse Explosion until something dies. But as soon as Corpse Explosion as soon as Corpse Explosion is available, I'm going to start exploding corpses. Why not? Here we have another group of monsters. And I'm going to start exploding corpses over here. And everything is going to die. Oh, we got a death mask. What's that? Blackthorn's face? Blackthorn's face. Now, when it comes to Corpse Explosion, there are some things that you need to know. Some things that don't really get explained very well. Number one, Corpse Explosion is technically a fire skill. So any piece of equipment that gives plus fire skills will give a bonus to Corpse Explosion. Number two, Corpse Explosion is governed by faster cast rate. So if you would like to cast Corpse Explosion faster, you're going to need something to increase your faster cast rate. Number three, the damage type of Corpse Explosion is not strictly fire. Despite the fact that it is a fire skill, it is actually two different damage types combined. So Corpse Explosion is 50% physical and 50% fire. This means that Corpse Explosion can benefit from a multitude of curses. The physical damage aspect of Corpse Explosion can be benefited by Amplify Damage, which will lower the physical resistance of monsters, by Decrepify, which also lowers the physical resistance of monsters, and the elemental side, the fire side, can also benefit from the lower resistance curse, which also reduces the fire resistance of the monster, which will increase the amount of fire damage that the monster takes. You can also potentially use Conviction, either from a paladin or from the Infinity Rune Word, to gain a boost in the fire damage effect as well. Now, because Corpse Explosion has a massive radius, you're going to notice that it's going to hit just about everything. If I take my guys up here to this particular zone and I start cursing away with Amplify Damage, because I like to increase the damage of my curse, you'll notice that things are dying and aren't anywhere even near the Corpse Explosion. And this is the beauty of building Corpse Explosion. So I'm relying on my army to take out the monsters, but I am relying on Corpse Explosion to finish the monsters off. And one of the ways that you can focus down a target relatively quickly is to teleport on top of them. This causes your entire army to teleport into one place, and then you can very quickly Corpse Explode everything nearby. Now, the downsides of this is that, number one, you need corpses. So if you don't have corpses, you're not Corpse Exploding. The majority of the bosses in the game do not have corpses near them. Baal does not have corpses for you to take advantage of. Diablo does not have corpses for you to take advantage of. Duriel does not have corpses for you to take advantage of. And Dariel does have corpses for you to take advantage of, and she's one of the few. So keep that in mind as you think about Corpse Explosion, because Corpse Explosion, although it is an extremely powerful ability, it also has some very serious downsides. It is also important to note that with Corpse Explosion, you can sabotage yourself. And you might be asking yourself, well, how can I sabotage myself with Corpse Explosion? Well, if you have any type of effect that will cause a target to shatter, cold damage, holy freeze, freezes target effects, if you have them equipped on your mercenary, if you make an iron golem out of something that has freezes target on it, if you are, in a group with players that have freezes target and they are shattering corpses on a regular basis, anytime a corpse is shattered, it cannot be used for a Corpse Explosion. If the corpse has already been violated in some way by another ability, you will also not be able to use it. Redemption on the Paladin will consume corpses. Find Item and Find Potion on the Barbarian, as well as Grimward on the Barbarian, will consume the corpse, and it will not be usable for Corpse Explosion. Your own skills, as in Raise Skeleton, and Raise Skeletal Mage, and Revive will also affect corpses, because every time that you summon a skeleton, that corpse is no longer usable for Corpse Explosion. And this becomes a very interesting mini game of juggling the corpses and trying to utilize them all to their best extent. There are other abilities, like the Druid has carrion vines, which will eat the corpses. There are also items in the game which prevent corpses from being used at all. One of those such items, which is relatively common, is called Nature's Peace. And Nature's Peace has an effect called Slain Monsters Rest in Peace. Now, when you are utilizing a Nature's Peace ring, none of the corpses that are gotten from this effect can be utilized for any of the corpse-related abilities. And this is important because as a Necromancer who is utilizing this particular ability, that is probably the last thing that you would want to do, is to put on an item which would deliberately cause the corpses to be unusable. And there is another such item. Actually, there's a couple, but I actually do have one of them right now, Tyrael's Might, which is on my Sapphire Amazon. And let's go take a look at this real quick so that I can show you how this effect works and why it would definitely be detrimental to a corpse-exploding Necromancer. So when I achieve a kill as a Amazon, or as a character wielding the Slain Monsters Rest in Peace effect, you will notice a very peculiar thing will happen. Notice it seems like their souls are leaving their body, right? This is an effect of Slain Monsters Rest in Peace, and this basically means that the corpse is no longer usable by any corpse abilities in the game. If you are a character who has Tyrael's Might or Nature's Peace, or any of the other items that have Slain Monsters Rest in Peace, and you are running with a Necromancer or another such character who utilizes corpses, I would definitely recommend that you take that piece of equipment off while you are with them, just as a courtesy. And also, if you are a Necromancer or one of those characters who is utilizing corpses, you probably do not want to be wearing any type of Slain Monsters Rest in Peace equipment. Now, Corpse Explosion is an item that can be obtained off of, or an effect which can be obtained off of items. So it's important to note that there are certain items in the game that will actually give you the Corpse Explosion effect. And because Corpse Explosion is such an amazing ability, it doesn't necessarily have to be cast by a Necromancer. And I want you guys to keep this in mind. There are currently 3 items in the game which will give you Corpse Explosion charges, and those 3 items are the Black Rune Word, which can be made in a club, hammer, or mace, I believe. Has level 4 charges, and there are 12 of them. The Corpse-Morn Ornate Plate, which I actually just did a video on not too long ago, which has level 5 charges, and there are 40 of them. And then the Bone Hue Ogre Axe, which has level 14 Corpse Explosion charges, and there are 30 of them. These items, believe it or not, can actually be extremely useful to just about any character in the game, because those charges are just as powerful as the Necromancer's Corpse Explosion. So when you're in the middle of combat on your Barbarian or your Paladin, and you would like to just simply cast a couple Corpse Explosions, these items can actually be extremely powerful for that reason. As you can see on my Necromancer earlier, we were able to just mow through just about everything utilizing Corpse Explosion, Amplify Damage, and other sources. The Barbarian's Grim Ward, by the way, will also enhance the damage of Corpse Explosion, which is another very nice effect. Also, if you are a Paladin who was using Conviction, you could also increase the fire damage side of Corpse Explosion, utilizing the same effect. I do not believe that you can get Corpse Explosion in charges on any rare or blue items. In fact, I'm pretty sure you can't. Just double checking in my own mind, but I'm pretty sure the answer to that question is no. So keep that in mind. If you are not using Corpse Explosion on your Necromancer, I would recommend that you at least put 1 point into it. Corpse Explosion is extremely powerful of an ability, and it's just one of those abilities that you really, really, really want to have on a Necromancer. And I hear you guys. I hear you. There are those of you out here just like me who are like, but I want to build a Necromancer that doesn't use Corpse Explosion. It feels like all my Necromancers use Corpse Explosion. And there's a reason why they all use Corpse Explosion, because Corpse Explosion is just nuts. It really is. And you could, of course, build a Necromancer that doesn't use Corpse Explosion, but why, though? I mean, to be honest with you, it's just such a powerful ability that throwing it into every build is like throwing Holy Shield onto every Paladin, or throwing Natural Resistance onto every Barbarian. It's just an advantage that Necromancers have that other classes don't, except the Assassin. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we are exploding corpses with methane gas and watching the bone bits fly all over the place. And as always, keep watching.